Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. With the show, before we start off, I do like to say we will be talking about Atlético Madrid drawing 1-1 against Real Madrid. We'll discuss experiencing some technical issues. We'll discuss Manchester United's embarrassing display against Tottenham as they got destroyed. We'll talk about Leverkusen taking on Bayern, the draw. We'll discuss Arsenal taking on PSG. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show where I'll be giving you my headlines to some of the top headlines in the soccer world. Little hint, we'll be discussing Griezmann's retirement from France. If you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we really thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that as well. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $sign at the bottom of the chat box. It sends in your super chat. This guarantees that your super chat gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the GSMC Podcast.net to tip a donate and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do. We couldn't do what we're doing without your amazing support, and we're really thankful to have you as part of our community. We do have to start off with Atlético Madrid drawing against Real Madrid 1-1. Late equalizer from Atlético Madrid. They continue their early season pattern of getting the late goal to save points, to win games. In this instance, equalize in the 95th minute in stoppage time. Angel Correa being able to equalize for Atlético Madrid after Militao gave them the lead in the 64th minute. And between that, we did have that 15-minute stoppage of play because of fan behavior, fans throwing things on the pitch. In general, the fans just getting a little ruckus out there. After that initial goal for Militao caused the game to be paused for a little bit. Now, speaking of Angel Correa and that goal he scored, speaking of the game, very over the 90 minutes, the statistics say it's extremely even, and I do have to say that obviously the score says it's even, the statistics say it's even, and I do have to say I think the performances was pretty even. If you look at it, if you look at the statistics, it tells you it's dead even. You have 12 shots for Atlético Madrid, 12 shots for Real Madrid, 4 shots on target for Atlético Madrid, 4 shots on target for Real Madrid, 1 goal for Atlético Madrid, 1 goal for Real Madrid, 51% possession for Atlético Madrid, 49% possession for Real Madrid. Wow, it's just 1%. Wouldn't that be insane? If Atlético Madrid, if Real Madrid just had that 1% possession and it finished 50-50, the whole stat line would be even across the board. Which I don't think I've ever seen that before. I do have to say, maybe it's happened. I don't know, but I definitely don't remember seeing that. But yeah, going back to this game, a lot of interesting storylines there. Now Atlético Madrid, whenever they were chasing the game after that goal, they started playing better football. But early on, they did play a little stagnant. Now, the thing that I loved about this is Julian Alvarez did get introduced into this game. You saw that front three of Alvarez, Griezmann, Sorlos, and then a midfield three of Llorente, Gallagher, and DePaul. And Diego Simeone did you know, revert away from that back five into the back four with Lenormand and Jimenez anchoring the back with Molina and Mandava playing as fullbacks. So I love that Diego Simeone went to the, got Alvarez, Griezmann, Sorlos all playing together. The thing is though, early on, Atletico Madrid were very much on the back foot and they didn't take the game to Real Madrid and took advantage of having that extra man in attack. It took until later on when you went to go down that we really saw Atletico Madrid really decide to go for it in the game, and some of it came with and you didn't really get to see that front three, the dynamic front three that we wanted to see, because they were all pretty much defending earlier on in the game. And for me, again, that was a little bit disappointing. You go with this lineup, and yes, you're sacrificing a defender, so you do want them to be numbers behind the ball. You don't want to get caught out or anything of that sort. But at the same time, you brought on that extra attacker for a reason, is to go and win these games, is to go and take it to the opposition. And they didn't do that early, They didn't take it to the opposition. And for me, it was a little bit disappointing. Simeone, he got the lineup choice correct, yes. But I thought they could have went for it a little bit more earlier in the game. What we saw from Atletico Madrid that last 20 minutes, I think we could have seen that from the beginning. And to get that point, yes, at the end of the game, you would say this is a point gain rather than a point loss. But entering the game, I expected Atletico Madrid to do better. I do have to say, this is a game that they won last season, going away to the Bernabeu. Not going away, at home at the Metropolitano. They won this game last season. But I think the big talking point from this game was after that initial goal to give Real Madrid the lead, which was a good, well-taken goal by Eder Militao, taking it on the volley on the corner. About 20 minutes or so, a little bit over 20 minutes, and which allowed, people to calm down the ultras. I believe we saw the pictures of Jimenez and Koke talking to them. We saw Simeone go down there and try to calm them down as well, just to get the game, back, just to get the game, going again. But eventually they were able to calm them down enough to spring the players, to get the players back onto the pitch. And after that delay, which I do have to say, I don't know if it makes an impact in the game or anything. We never know, honestly. We don't know how that game would have went if that did not happen. But at the same time, it's, you're almost, with the delay, you're almost, what's the word I'm trying to say? You're almost allowing the ultras to leave, on a positive, saying, "Oh, we helped the result," and that's the part that I don't like, don't hugely love about it, is that Atletico Madrid did get the draw, and you just don't know whether or not that that delay might have helped them or not, and. But overall, regarding the game, as far as Real Madrid, I thought they played pretty well. Them being out without Mbappe, key player into the team. Carlo Ancelotti, I said he had multiple options. With the loss of Mbappe, you could bring in Endrick and play like for like Endrick, 7 amount for Mbappe. That's one option. You could You could have brought on a left-footed player in either Arda Güler or Brahim Diaz, allowed to be a little bit more balanced, and put Rodrigo playing through the middle. Or the other option is you play Vinicius and Rodrigo up top alone, have Bellingham playing similar role as last season, operating behind them, and put in Modric in the midfield to have a little bit more control of the game. He opted for that. Overall, I thought it was a really good game. Koke, speaking of the game, saying these are matches with a lot of intention, a lot of intensity. It was a very tense moment. This can't happen on a football pitch. We are footballers, professionals, and we have to be intelligent. But four people can't pay for the rest of the stadium. And I do think you see Real Madrid still have an issue with replacing Toni Kroos, because even with Modric coming in, they're not able to control the games in midfield, so far up to this point in the season as they were last season. And, now obviously regarding the result of this game with the draw, both teams dropping points there, you still move closer to Barcelona, who lost to Osasuna, and now Madrid find themselves 3 points behind them. They entered this week 4 points behind them. Atlético Madrid, they find themselves 5 points behind Barcelona, and they entered this game 6 points behind Barcelona. So there's that as well. But overall, this is what it is. It is the Madrid Derby, and I think both teams will be semi positive about the result. Show breaker coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Tottenham taking on United.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot.
Before the break, we discussed Atlético Madrid drawing 1-1 against Real Madrid. We move on to do a full reaction to Manchester United taking on Tottenham, and the nightmare deepens. That's the takeaway from this game. The nightmare deepens for Manchester United fans. Obviously, Tottenham were brilliant and they deserve a lot of praise. For the way that they've turned around their season after, not a horrible start, but not a good start to their season. Played some good football, but just lacked that cutting edge and had suffered the same issues game in, game out with the points that they dropped. But since those first few games, Tottenham, where we had the issue, we've had that issue of Tottenham not getting the goals, lacking that cutting edge. Since then, in their last 3 games, they have scored 9 goals. They've only conceded 1 goal in that stretch. They didn't down a man for majority of the game, for the entirety of a game in the Europa League against Karabakh. And in this game, they took advantage of a United team that went down a man halfway through the game with the Bruno Fernandes straight red card, which we'll get to. But they were dominating the game before that. And look, you know what? I did come out before the game when previewing this on this show on Friday, and I said Arsenal or Tottenham are going to be the progressive team. They're going to be the more they're going to be the protagonist in this game. They're going to be the team that goes after. They're going to be the team with more possession in dangerous areas and have more, be more on the attack. But the key for United is to defend well, to defend well as a unit, to close up any blocks and not be easy to play against, to make it hard for Tottenham, and then take advantage of some of the pace you have with some of the pace you have in the attack. Specifically talking about, I was discussing Garnacho, Rashford, and then I thought Højlund would have been able to get the start here because of the pace that he provides, but he opted to go with Xerxes instead, who also gave you nothing in this game. But that was the keys to the game for United. Well, I mean, you throw that completely out of the window. The first key is, number one, we know that Tottenham are going to be the ones that, are going to be the protagonists. Are they going to be the ones that, take it to Manchester United? Okay, let me frame that. Not we knew, because I got a little bit of backlash when discussing this with other people, but this is what was my opinion, and I ended up being correct by a landslide. But I did say United have to be defensively concentrated and make it difficult for Tottenham, because we've seen when you make it difficult for Tottenham, when you close up those spaces, they tend to lack that cutting edge and are not able to get that final ball right, that final product right. Okay, so make it difficult. 3 minutes into the game, you let Mickey van de Ven, center back, Tottenham center back, you let Mickey van de Ven, Tottenham's center half, run with the ball for about 70 meters, 65, 70 meters or so. He's able to make a run through the midfield, past the defense, and lay in a ball right into Brendan Johnson's pass for a tap-in. How does that happen? How does that happen? How does a center half just go through the entire team like that? I mean, talk about the opposite of making it difficult. And then how is Brendan Johnson that open for a tap in there? Where is Dalot tracking his man? Where is Dalot tracking Brendan Johnson? I mean, that gotta be horrible defending all around. Horrible defending from the midfield players, just letting Van de Ven go past them. Horrible defending from I'm mistaken. Who was the right back? I know it was Delict on Mazraoui and Delict not being tight enough, allowing that space for Van de Ven to run through after he glided past the midfield, and then on top of that, Dalot. I mean, what is he thinking? Brendan Johnson just glides into that space. Dalot is jogging down as Brendan Johnson is getting into a position for a tap, and Dalot, not recognizing the danger, I guess, doesn't realize his man is free for a wide open tap and just lets him go, and it's a tap, and it's just horrible defending all around. And when you don't defend it well, and you don't make and if you don't make it hard for Tottenham, they create enough attacking opportunities to wear you down. And I mean, it was just men amongst boys this game. Men amongst boys. I mean, Tottenham, they dominated the game even a little bit more than I expected to. Because, look, I did think Tottenham were going to be, dominating this game, have more attacking opportunities. But I thought Man United would have the odd, counter. I know United had that one opportunity with Rashford where they went long. But apart from that, it was all Tottenham all day. Chance after chance after chance after chance. It was all Tottenham. I mean, United didn't even get a foot into the game. Could have been 6. But then Johnson, I know he hit the post. There was an opportunity for Dogi. It was all Tottenham. I know Madison had a few opportunities here and there. I believe someone had a nice, a really good attempt at a scissor kick or a half volley or so. I think it was Romero. It was all Tottenham all day. And honestly, if Timo Werner, he never has a shooting boots, but if Timo Werner was just a little bit more clinical, it could have been like 4 or 5. It really was just absolute domination. It was one team on the pitch. And And yeah, that's why, that first 40 minutes made sure that United didn't get a pass into this game because look, Bruno Fernandes did get a red card in the 45th minute. But that's not why, Tottenham dominated this game, and it was evident from the first 40 minutes. But that by the way, that red card, I do have to say, look, I think it's a dirty play from Bruno Fernandes. I do think, I'll first glance when I watched at it, I do have to say, it was a little bit harsh when I first looked at it because of the fact that he sort of slips there. When he slips and because of that slip, he's having to make that sort of play. But when he notices he's slipping, he raises his foot and goes high to make sure that he catches the Tottenham player. When he realizes that he slips, just to make sure he gets some sort of contact on the Tottenham player to lower his momentum, he raises his foot off the ground. For me, that's dirty. That's you're going in there. You're going in there with the intent of not even playing the ball there. You're intending to trip him because of the fact that he raises his foot. But is it dangerous play? Because his stud doesn't go through the player. I don't think he intends to make a stud up tackle. I think he's just trying to make sure he trips him. But it is a dirty play in the fact that he's not playing the ball. He's tripping him. His foot is off the ground. So I can see one point of view saying that's not dangerous play. There's no real risk there of, major injury because, he doesn't go through the foot. He doesn't go through his foot. But he did raise his feet in the, off the ground, and he's, the ball is on the ground there. You're not making any play on the ball. He's not making any play on the ball there. No play on the ball. He's just trying to get whatever contact he can on the Tottenham player. And yeah, it is I don't know if it's harsh, but again, as a captain, you can't do that. You cannot make that sort of mistake as a captain. It is his first red card for the club, so there's a little bit of a caveat there, but you cannot go that high. It's reckless. It's reckless. So, yeah, but I do have to say the red card didn't change the game much because, Tottenham continued to dominate as we expected. The second goal game, big thing about this as well, the second goal came from Kulusevski, and it kept being Tottenham. They kept being the protagonist, could have gotten multiple goals in that second half. The great thing about this game as well is Solanke gets another goal. He's starting to really to build himself at Tottenham, to start getting the confidence, now with another goal as well. Good signs for Tottenham, I do have to say. Very good signs for Tottenham to score 9 goals in the last 3 games after having that real problem of not, of lacking that cutting edge of attack, not being clinical enough to come out in these last 3 games and score 9 goals, to go to Old Trafford, to completely dominate the game, to get a 3-0 win. Solanke continued to get on the score sheet. Well, I do have to say, these Postecoglou criticisms were very, very loud in the first few games, but he's starting to turn them around this season, and I do think they play some really, really good football. Really do. What Postecoglou has done at Tottenham for me has been really, really great. From the season that they had with Conte to last season, being in the top 4 battle all the way till the end. Now this season, the way that they look. Yes, so far the results haven't been the greatest, but the football that they're playing has been really, really good. And at the end of the day, as a manager, you cannot really coach, being clinical or having more cutting edge. That's something just the attackers have to figure out. But the management part to it, getting the team playing good football, being tactically well set up to be able to be in, being in the right places to create a lot of opportunities to play lively football. As the management part of it, he's been brilliant. United, look, I do have to say, you see how, you see Ten Hag, there was reports coming out after the game saying he has he has not 2 games left, but he'll be the manager for at least the next 2 games I believe that's what was said. Look, when has a manager ever been this close to us firing and been able to turn it around at a club? If I'm United, just get it done. Just fire him. It's coming. It's not going to get any better. I believe they take on Villa in their next Premier League game. Like, it's only going to get worse. Look, they play Porto in Portugal, and then they go away to Villa Park and go and take on Villa. What have we seen from the last year and a half that gives us any reason to say Aston Villa is not gonna, spank Manchester United in this game? What gives us any reason to believe otherwise? And that's look, the manager is gonna get fired, and is he the problem at United? Probably not. Is he the solution? Definitely not. And I don't know how you turn it around if you're Manchester United. I do have to say, it just does not look good. It doesn't look good, and it hasn't looked good since Sir Alex Ferguson. And it's really quite sad what this club has become. They've almost become the laughingstock of the Premier League after being the crown jewel of Premier League football. They've become the laughingstock, and I guess every club's has a down time in their history, but we're talking about a little bit more than a decade now. I mean, it's or not a little bit more than a decade, a little bit less than a decade. My bad, a little bit less than a decade now. I mean, where do I go from here? I don't know, but it's really quite sad, I do have to say. And funny for me as a Chelsea fan. Not sad for me at all. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Bayern Munich taking on Leverkusen.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Manchester United's embarrassing display as they get destroyed by Tottenham. We move on to discuss Bayern Munich. They drew with Leverkusen at home. Open up the score. The score sheet got opened up with a wonderful finish from Andrik off of a set place opportunity for Leverkusen. If you watch the game, that was probably the only way that they were able to score in the game was through set piece. They couldn't create anything really much going forward. Only have 2 shots on target, one of them being the goal. Pavlovic going on to equalize 8 minutes later. Oh, by the way, that goal for Andrik came extremely against the run of play. Pavlovic equalized in the 39th minute with a wonderful goal and a brilliant goal. The way he took it, the way he took that shot out, I mean, that was a sensational strike. And if you saw the celebration from the Bayern team with that goal, I mean, it was you could tell that was a goal that meant something, because we know the way Leverkusen won Bundesliga last season, how big this was for Bayern Munich, how big this game was played up, and then to dominate the game the way that they did over the first 30 minutes and to go down a goal, you're almost in a here we go again mindset, and you're a little bit desperate to get that goal back as soon as possible. And the way he controlled that ball, it was just, what a goal it was. Sensational goal, I do have to say. Sensational goal. And then the celebrations on top of that, with the fist bumps, the Davies, electrified, the Bayern Munich crowd going absolutely nuts. And it was a goal to announce that they're back. And there was a performance, I do have to say, now they weren't able to get the 3 points, which I do have to say, if you look at it at the end of the game, it's a point lost and a point gained in the fact that you really dominated this game, Bayern Munich did. And they should have gotten all 3 points, I do have to say. The performance was deserving of it, 3 points. If anyone was going to win, it was Bayern Munich. I mean, the stats tell it all. 18 shots to 3 for Leverkusen, 3 shots on target, which was the problem as well. 2 shots on target for Leverkusen. 70% possession for Bayern Munich. And if you saw Xabi Alonso comments after the game saying I'm happy with the results because of the way that, because essentially he said Bayern played better and they were better than them, and he admitted it and he was open about it, and which I love managers being open about their opinion, and yeah, it was a great performance from Bayern Munich, and I think it's a statement performance from Bayern Munich. The way that they were able to dominate Leverkusen in this one, and yes, they did it at home. But you remember what happened when Munich took on Leverkusen last season? Especially that later game. Leverkusen outclassed Bayern Munich. This was far from that. Jamal Musiala, oh my God, every time I watch him, it just keeps getting better and better. The silky dribbling in tight spaces, being able to do things with the ball in compressed spaces that I don't see that. You don't see that. You don't see a player dribbled with that sort of ability. Just absolutely great. Overall, Gnabry, he had a very, very good opportunities to take the lead. He had one at the start of the second half where he got the ball from a cross from Kane. Really good ball brought in, but crossed by Kane, who, by the way, had to go off limping later in the game because of an injury. Really good cross bringing in by Kane, and Gnabry, I don't know how it didn't go in, because it hit the inside of the post, and from the initial looking at it, I thought it was destined to go into the back, and then it bounced the opposite way, and I was just like, wow, it was that close. And by the way, if Munich get that goal, I think it would have been really, really hard for Leverkusen to get the point, because I don't know how they were gonna get be able to because Bayern Munich, they just dominated possession, and Leverkusen, I don't think they really had a chance to test Bayern's back line because of how much in control Bayern was of the game. And that's, for me, the little bit disappointing part if you're Leverkusen, because you're looking at that Bayern Munich back line and you're thinking, we can go out these boys. We can take advantage of this, of this Bayern Munich defense. That's not the strongest part of their team with Upamecano and Kim as the center halves. But again, just Bayern were just too much on the front foot, and yes, with them being at home, that has something to do with it. But I think if you're Leverkusen, you're a little bit disappointed that you couldn't test this Bayern Munich backline more than they did in this game. And I do have to say, they've been a lot better so far this season than they were last season. And did this prove they're back? I do have to say yes, because it took a performance against a team like Leverkusen for us to really know what this Bayern Munich team is about, because we've seen them and how impressive that they've been so far to start at the season. I believe they've won every single game that they played into the season to this date, besides this game. Yeah, they've won every single game to this day, and then to have this sort of performance to the defending Bundesliga champions, is really, really impressive in my opinion. I do think defensively it's something that Vincent Kompany they still need to address. I think against today it wasn't exposed, but in other games going up against the bigger teams, I do think defensively they're a team that can be had at. But the way that they can dominate games, have control, have control of possession, control the tempo and the attacking display that they have, it's hard to think that they're not going to win a lot of games this season, because they are a brilliant, brilliant team. And so far, so good for Vincent Kompany. He has this team playing with a real identity, with a real know-how, and it seems like they've picked up whatever Vincent Kompany wants them to do. They're playing very, very good attacking football. The players are being allowed to express themselves and show their qualities. Pavlovic is continuing to show us glimpses of what he showed us from last season. He's been a brilliant, brilliant midfielder, which is a little bit a little funny, because they brought in Palinia to play that similar role, and Pavlovic has completely taken that role and made it his own. So yeah, good results for Bayern Munich. Obviously, the good performance from Bayern Munich. Obviously, the results, you'd want to win. Bayern Munich, they should be expected to win every single game at home. But at the same time, especially earlier on this season, performances is a little bit more important than the results, because the performances will tell us, in the long run, how this, what the results to come will be. So, good overall performance from Bayern Munich, and I do think they proved that they're back after this game. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will preview Arsenal taking on PSG.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed Bayern Munich taking on Leverkusen. We move on to preview tomorrow's big Champions League tie. There's some other big Champions League ties, just to summarize them real quick. We have Salzburg taking on Brest, Stuttgart taking on Sparta Praha, Dortmund taking on Celtic, PSV taking on Sporting, Slaven Bratislava taking on City. Barcelona taking on Young Boys, which is another big game because Barcelona lost their opening game. They don't want to slip up again against Young Boys and find themselves in a position where, they're looking up in this 36 league table format. Inter taking on Crvena Zvezda. And then the other big game, in my opinion, coming up, besides this Arsenal PSG game, Leverkusen taking on AC Milan. That's gonna be an interesting one as well. But we gotta do the preview for Arsenal versus PSG. So, PSG so far looked really impressive in League One, with 5 wins and a draw, and have a dominating goal differential with 20 goals scored, 5 goals conceded. This is a PSG right now in a little bit of a transitional period, going away from Mbappe, relying on some quality from some of the youth like Zaire Emery. You have João Neves, a 20-year-old Portuguese midfielder getting some minutes. You have William Pacho, the Ecuadorian center half. Lucas Beraldo, 20-year-old Brazilian. Luis Enrique, taking advantage of some of the youth quality into this team. And it's a transitional period for PSG, but they're doing it in very, very good fashion so far in how they played in League One. They've been really, really good, really, really impressive. They did have that opening day Champions League win over Girona, in which, yes, they did dominate the game, but it took them a very, very late to get that winner, and it was, quite simply out of luck that they were able to get the winner. But there's an interesting situation there going on, though, with PSG. Dembele, he will not be available for selection into this game. He's been axed for the game because of a reported row that he had. A row disagreement, whatever word you want to use, that he had with Luis Enrique, and he will not be traveling to London for this game against Arsenal. He was dropped by Luis Enrique because during the 3-1 win over Rennes, or after their 3-1 win over Rennes, they were argued. The day later, there was an argument between them two. The club came out and backed Luis Enrique's decision to leave him out, and he was left out. When Luis Enrique was asked about this decision, he said, "If someone doesn't meet the requirements of the team, it means, in my opinion, that they are not ready. It means in such an important week with such an important game coming up, we need every player to be fully available, and if they are not meeting expectation, there are no issues. It is my job to do the best for the team, and that was my decision." Luis Enrique, he later stated with the player that he did not want to make a soap opera out of the incident. And he also added that there's a problem of commitment of the player towards the team. Dembele, he's had a very, very good start so far to the season. We know that last season end product has been a little bit of an issue for him. But so far this season, he scored 4 goals and had 4 assists in the 6 games for PSG in League One. That is great. 8 goal contributions in 6 games. That is sensational end product display. Last season, we didn't really see that. But so far, he's been really, really good for PSG this season. And he created that opportunity as well against Girona to get that goal. It was through his cross, not through his cross, it's actually through Nuno Mendes' cross. So let me, I'm mistaking my players actually. It was not Ousmane Dembele, it was Nuno Mendes. But But yeah, it's crazy storyline. And Luis Enrique, he's not someone that has not done this before. If you remember going back to last season, whenever they were going away to Toulouse, he left out Mbappe and Dembele because of them not working hard enough in training. And look, I understand the manager in here. Like, we don't know exactly what happened, but at the end of the day, if there's a lack of commitment, there's no problem with disciplining your player, even if it is the player, 4 goals, 4 assists, your best player so far this season. Now, it does put you on the back foot, taking on Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium, not having Ousmane Dembele, not having that production, because this is a team in PSG that does lack. They do lack the the firepower in the attack with Mbappe missing. They do lack that. They're probably now gonna play Barcola, Asensio, and probably Colomwani maybe, or Lee Kangin or something of that sort. You do that lack that firepower going forward. But again, as a manager, you have to stamp in your authority. You have to you have to keep the authority. You have to be respected. And if there's someone not meeting the level of expectations and for what it takes to be a PSG player, you must be punished. Whether you're the best player or you're sitting on the bench, you never play. So it does put PSG in a little bit of a back foot. As far as Arsenal, I do have to say they have been struggling a little bit without Odegaard in terms of being able to create. Now, they scored 4 goals this past weekend, but keep in mind they were drawing 2-2 till the 94th minute or so. They struggled in that game against Leicester to get that result. At the end, they did end up getting it. They got the 3rd goal, eventually even got the 4th later on in stoppage time. But there was a good minute in watching that game that I thought, oh my God, Leicester's gonna be able to pull off this draw. And that's one of those games that Arsenal, they never really struggled in this past season. And I don't think the team has weakened, but I do think they are missing Odegaard. They are missing Odegaard because this is a team that lacks creativity without him. The wingers are not creative players. Kai Havertz is not a creative player. They don't have that creativity when Martin Odegaard is not on the pitch. They don't have the player that can make those line-breaking balls the way Odegaard. They don't have that cute and clever player in midfield without Martin Odegaard. So now taking on PSG, this is difficult opposition to play against. And in the Champions League, we know Arsenal in general, historically, even going back to last season, even if they're a really, really good team with Arsenal, they just struggle in the Champions League. The Champions League is not their strong foot. And going against PSG, which they don't really have much Champions League pedigree themselves, but they do have some quality to take advantage of a team that has a little bit of a weak mentality in these big games, in my opinion, in these Champions League games. Going back last season, they had a 5-0 wins and 6-0 wins and another 5-0 win in a 3-game stretch in the Premier League. Sandwiched in that in the middle of those 3 games was a loss away to Porto, 1-0. That just really sums up Arsenal in my opinion. It sums up Arsenal in my opinion. I do have to say, and it was really, really funny. I talk about that all the time, but it really is funny with me and how much Arsenal's DNA ends up coming to bite them eventually in the season, and I think it's coming so far this season. But yeah, overall, so Ben White and Calafiori, they're both gonna be in probable to play in this game despite picking up minor injuries over this weekend. We know Julian Timber, he'll probably be an option there as well. I already spoke about Odegaard are out. Mikel Merino, we know he's still continued to be out. And then we know Zinchenko, he was going to continue to be out till after the international break. Um, but we know Arsenal, they're coming in as the favorites, playing at the Emirates. They're a better team than PSG overall based on, you know, what we expected from both teams entering the season. I do think I trust Luis Enrique more than Mikel Arteta in these big moments. Luis Enrique is a manager that's done it in the Champions League. Mikel Arteta, not so much. And Luis Enrique is done at the highest level. He's been a manager of a team that won trebles. And I think in-game, tactically adjusting, I do think I trust him over Mikel Arteta, I do have to say. But at the same time, with losing Dembele, you do lack that firepower in the attack. But no, I'm looking forward to this game. I think it will finish a draw. I think both teams, I think it finished 0-0, 1-1, because I think both teams do have their weaknesses. With Arsenal playing without Odegaard, with Dembele playing without PSG, with PSG playing out without Dembele. Do think Arsenal will be a little bit scared to go a little bit too open, taking on PSG. I think PSG will also have a balanced approach in this one, going away to the Emirates. I think we might get a little bit of a boring, fest, and so I think it will finish a draw. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we discussed Arsenal taking on PSG. We move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. And we have to start off with some news that broke earlier today. Griezmann, he has retired from international football. He's retiring from international football after a decade with the French national team. This was Griezmann, player. He was, a huge part of France's success in the Didier Deschamps era up to this point. You go back in the 2014 World Cup. That was his breakthrough tournament for the French national team. His importance really rose up early on whenever Frank Ribery announced that he will not be participating in the 2014 World Cup. His importance, became even bigger. Didn't have the biggest impact into that team, but he had a solid tournament. I believe he had a goal against Nigeria in the quarterfinal. Solid tournament then, and then he really broke through being an important part of the French national team, going back in the 2016 European Championships. He was a huge part of that 2016 European Championships. He was the talisman. of that 2016 European Championship team for France. He got the go-ahead goal in the second group stage game against Albania. He scored the 2 goals to see them past Ireland after they went down 1-0 against Ireland. He scored the 2 second-half goals to get them past Ireland. He also went on to score goals in the quarterfinals. That was in the round of 16 against Ireland. He also went on to score goals in the quarterfinals against Iceland, and in the semifinal he scored a brace in that semifinal against Germany. And he was an integral part in that European Championship team that reached the final. They went on and lost to Portugal, but in that knockout stage game, he scored 4 goals. He scored 5. So he scored 2 against Ireland. He scored 1 against 2 against Ireland, 1 against Iceland, and then 2 in the semifinal. So he scored 5 goals. He scored 5 goals in those 3 knockout stage games to the final. He also had a goal in the group stages as well. He was such an important part. He was the talisman of that team. 2 years later, you had the wonder boy, the young talent in Mbappe that came up. But he was still an integral part of that team. Antoine Griezmann was in 2018. And, he had the goals. He had important goals in that campaign. The final. He was the one that scored the penalty to give them the lead. When after the equalizer from Ivan Perisic. He scored a goal against Uruguay as well in the round of 16. Scored a penalty as well against Argentina. Huge part of the 2018 team that won the World Cup. And then the 2022 World Cup team in the final. He was a key part of that team, playing a little bit of a different role, having to play a little bit more deeper, having to do a little bit more work to make up for the loss of N'Golo Kante and the work that, the workload he had in midfield. Did a little bit of, the dirty work in midfield that Griezmann did. In that campaign, did a lot of the defensive work for them as well. Became a little bit more of a playmaker, showed his creativity. You remember that wonderful cross he put in for that Giroud goal to give them the win against England. Showed his ability in more than just, being that sort of, being someone that plays off of Giroud, being an important part of the front three. Showed a little bit of a different element to him. And, his adaptability and his flexibility and the work rate that he provided for a team, making up for some of the walking that other players did in that team. I'm talking about Mbappe. It's just, he was a huge part. He'll go down as, in my opinion, one of the best French national team players of all time. And, that's a hard list to be on because, you're talking about the likes of Thierry Henry, Zinedine Zidane, Michel Platini. There's been some greats. I think he's done enough in these last 10 years to be a part of that greatness. Just an amazing player, a legend for French football. And I know they don't really do this in, the footballing world. This is an American sport tradition. But if there was a jersey retirement, per se, for international football, well, Griezmann's French national team jersey would definitely be retired. No doubts about that. And yeah, when he was, with the statement, he said, "It is with a heart full of memories that I close the chapter of my life. Thank you for this magnificent tricolor adventure and see you soon. Today, with profound emotion, I announce my retirement as a French national team player. After 10 incredible years marked by challenges, success, and unforgettable moments, it's time for me to turn the page and make room for the new generation. Wearing this shirt has been an honor and a privilege. I leave the France national team with a sense of pride and gratitude. I had the honor of representing our country and the chance to experience extraordinary moments like becoming a world champion. I'll continue to follow Le Bleu with passion. I'm convinced that the future is bright, and I can't wait to see the next generation shine." Griezmann, he made his debut to March 2014, shortly before the 2014 World Cup, when they took on the Netherlands in a friendly. He's been managed by Didier Deschamps at France for his entire career. And yeah, I just he played 137 games. He scored 44 goals. Yeah, he's a brilliant player, and I hope it's a player that I don't know how the news has been taken in the French world, but I hope it's a player that's really getting his praise and adulation, because he's been great. Javier Aguirre, he has recalled Ochoa and Raul Jimenez to return to the Mexican national team for friendlies when they actually take on Valencia on October 12th, which is weird as hell, I do have to say. I'm not a fan of national teams taking on club teams for friendlies. I think that's pretty weird. I do have to say, I don't respect that at all. I think it's very, very weird. But yeah, they take on Valencia on October 12th and the U.S. men's national team on 15. That's Mauricio Pochettino, one of his 2 debut games. But yeah, he's back. They're gonna be back. No, Andres Guadrado, he's also in the squad as well. He's also involved into the team. No Irving Lozano, he's not involved into this team. But yeah, I like to see how they look under Javier Aguirre, this Mexican national team. They're on the clock to get ready for the 2026 World Cup. Ronaldo, Sadio Mane, they led Al Nassr to win their first AFC Champions League game. Ronaldo scored the winning goal when Al Nassr defeated Al Rayyan, the Qatari team, 2-1 in the AFC Champions League group stage game. Flick, he's teasing Szczesny's deal. He said he already spoken with Szczesny after the since we know that he's arrived in Barcelona to complete the move. So that is happening. We'll see if he gets that number 1 spot. We'll see. But yeah, that's about it. I do have to say, it's been a really interesting show. Thank you guys, though, for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.